Elitimbo, your classroom influencer. My platform is to share instructional tips and inspiration. Welcome for another round of PowerUp Your Instruction. In this video, we'll explore building a culture of student empowerment through the strategy I developed, which I will call RACE, that stands for Role-Assignment Instructional Strategy for Engagement. The development of RACE was born as a result of my desire to make an impact one student, one at a time, through a student-directed active engagement activity. It has been a common practice for educators to rely on the more popular route of direct teaching or teacher-led approaches when teaching students. Nonetheless, during the course of my pedagogical practice, certain strategies have cropped up over the years that favor more student-led learning approaches. It's quite interesting, right? However, many of these practices are not directed towards exploratory guided learning. These strategies are devoid of students' directed interaction. They are more likely a hodgepodge of collaborative discussions facilitated by the teacher. This led me to develop a teaching strategy which I will call RACE, which stands for Role Assignment Instructional Strategy to increase engagement. Empowering students through classroom engagement has become the focus of my instructional goals. Students in my classroom are engaged effectively when they have designated assignment roles. Role is a set of expectations for students in the classroom that includes responsibilities, activities, and protocols. These assigned roles provide a supportive structure between teachers and students in promoting a collaborative experiences. And also, in assigning roles, teachers need to consider choosing between fixed or rotational role assignments. Rotating the role allows the development and utilization of different competencies and skills so that students experience a multitude of roles. The teacher needs to consider the randomization also, wherein you randomly give a specific role to a specific student. The RACE uses the whole class approach as it engages all students in the classroom by assigning them with key roles and supporting roles throughout the lesson. Every student is held accountable to do their share of work because clear expectations, responsibilities, activities, and protocols are clearly defined. If you have a total of 34 students, for example, in your class, all students will be given a role card assignment to engage and empower them in the classroom. Role assignments define the share of work and expectation for learning and achieving in class. RACE is not only utilized during group work, it is utilized throughout the lesson wherein all students in the classroom are given a different role assignment. To show you about these role cards, I have here the actual role cards laminated, and I identified 14 roles that you can use with your class. So let me show it to you. So I have here the response card. I control the discussion on which role I want to implement in a particular pacing of the lesson. So you can see here also the different role cards that I designed. So we have here, if you want a moderator, and at the back of each of these role cards are the protocols and sentence frame in order to support students. So I have here a moderator, summarizer, vocabulary builder, say something role. I have here the checker. I have here also the caller. I have also identified timekeeper. I have also a thinker. I have also a facilitator, a learner, reactor, recorder, teacher for the day, and another thinker. So as far as I have seen it, I actually designed 14, or I identified 14 roles that I can assign to my students, and you can duplicate roles so that everybody will given a role. I also have the response cards that can contain the choice of activity or role I want to use during the instruction. So I hold it here. So for example, you might say, okay, moderator, I need number 5. So all you have to do is to raise number 5. So moderator, I need number 5. So the moderator will execute his role as stated on the cards he is holding. The student holding the moderator card will read the instruction or option for that particular number. You can tweak or modify the implementation, as you can randomly call students holding a particular role card depending on the need and kind of activity for a particular pacing of the lesson. If you are in the beginning of the lesson, you might say, okay, moderator, I need number 2. So all you have to do is to raise number 2. Moderator, I need number 2. So student holding number 2 will state what they noticed and what they wonder, because that is option number 2 for a particular example in that given lesson. The caller will call the students who will answer that particular task. If you are at the end of the lesson, you might say, moderator, I need number 6. So all you have to do is to lift number 6, and I cannot find number 6 here. Okay, right here. So you might say, moderator, I need number 6. So a student holding the roll card for number 6, which is a summarizer, will encapsulate what they have learned for the day. You can add and be creative in thinking of a role you might assign for each student. Later, you will see a PowerPoint slides giving the details on the implementation of this strategy. So I want you to watch it, okay? So don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button of this channel, Power Up Your Instruction. And raise stands for to leap or move to a higher position or level. Increase the amount, level, or strength up. In this particular strategy I developed, RAISE stands for Role-Assignment Instructional Strategy for Engagement. It increases the level of engagement in the classroom. What are some of the interesting facts that we need to remember? Students are not attentive to what is being said in a lecture 40% of the time. Students retain 70% of the information in the first 10 minutes of a lecture, but only 20% in the last 10 minutes. That is quite interesting statistic. According to research, assigning roles to students could improve the overall learning. What are some of the things they said about the benefits of role assignments? According to Gogashall, concluded that assigning roles to students in groups reduce the amount of time being get off task and increase the amount of participation within the groups. Stan found that the effects of role assignments on the quality of creative output was significantly higher in quality compared to groups who were not imposed a structure. Cooper explained that role assignment may be surprisingly good for team performance. Wang and Liu assert that the role assignment process increased emotional contact, and cultivate social acceptability of communication, self-expression, and mutual recognition. Wheeler, Gibson, and Salim emphasize that role assignment was found to have a statistically significant effect on critical thinking skills and a statistically significant difference in various areas of self-efficacy. The prevalent practices of most teachers when it comes to role assignment is utilizing different roles, such as assigning students to become a facilitator, recorder, presenter, timekeeper, artist, and few to mention. They do this role assignment when they are only assigning activities such as group work to engage students in collaborative discussion. And also some teachers use the purpose of learning the task. They assign tasks based on the following purpose. If they're conducting laboratory activity, they're assigning students to become a director, investigator, material manager, data recorder. When they want to increase social skills, teacher may assign students to become reflector, timekeeper, encourager, checker. When students are being assigned for content area reading, students might act as a connector, questioner, passage master, vocabulary enricher, illustrator, and researcher. Role assignment also depends on the nature of the learning task. So if you want to assign about project or project roles, you might ask students to become the leader or the editor, a recorder or secretary, a checker, a spokesperson or press secretary, webmaster. When we want something about discussion roles, we might ask our student to become a facilitator, encourager, timekeeper, summarizer, reflector, and elaborator. Now, it is true that by assigning roles to our kids, there are some instructional benefits we can get. What are those instructional benefits of using this strategy? Here are the following benefits of RACE. Students increase social and communication skills through interaction with the teacher and other students. Students are held accountable of their share of work. Student engagement is evident through role assignment. Teacher can easily monitor behavior and work. Students can take ownership and pride in their work. Students develop leadership skills. It encourages talk moves, and it develops oral language, vocabulary, writing, and metacognition. Now, how do we design this strategy? How do we do this strategy? It is true that by assigning the roles by teachers to our students, we are actually delegating some instructional job to the students. In RACE, the teacher is meant to be a facilitator, elaborator, and motivator of learning. Teacher's role is to assist and observe by circulating, visiting, assigning, and facilitating the entire discussion. Assigning role is an effective way to structure routines and procedures in the classroom. As a teacher, you might need to consider the following pointers when preparing your students for the use of RACE. First, identify the roles you need to utilize depending on the nature and purpose of your instructional goals. During group work, for example, the common roles teacher usually assigns to students include being a facilitator, recorder, presenter, timekeeper, or an artist. Second, provide students with role cards with instructional procedures, protocols, and sentence frame for engagement. Third thing to consider, allow students to reflect on their experience while working on their assigned roles. Wow, those are the 3 basic roles that you need to remember. Now, to have an easy flow the use of response cards will signal the choice of activity throughout the lesson. It is numbered from 1 to 8 depending on your choice of activity, with corresponding activity or prompt. The ones that you see below from numbers 1 to 8 are the choices of activity that a teacher can implement. Teacher can add as many response cards or activities they can think of depending on the nature and purpose of the activity. You can modify the response cards activity depending on the need of your students. So basically, these are response cards from number 1 to 8. You control what activity you want to implement for that day. For example, you might call it loud like, okay, I need number 4. Then anybody who wants to say something. So a student who holds the say something card will execute whatever is the protocol for that particular role. Or you might say, okay, I need number 8. Number 8 means I need a facilitator to take a lead in discussing that concept. So basically, this response card is you control the activity for that day. This one is much a bigger picture for you to actually see what are those numbers stands for. Number 1, if you want to ask a burning question, so the thinker would throw the question to the class. That's number 1. Number 2, let's do noticing and wondering. What did you notice? What did you wonder? Card number 3, I need a checker to verify the solution of the word. Would you like to verify the solution? So the checker will execute. Whoever holds the checker card will execute it. If you want to say, okay, number 4, anybody who wants to say something, so whoever holds the say something card will execute whatever is the protocol for that particular card. And if you call number 5, which means I need a vocabulary builder to highlight important vocabulary, whoever holds the card, the student will execute being a vocabulary builder. If you want number 6, a summarizer, then you will say I need a summarizer to encapsulate what we learned today. So whoever holds the summarizer card will say the protocol for that particular role. And number 7, this is the most complicated role. Let's hear meaningful thoughts from our teacher of the day. So a student will act as a teacher for the day, doing the following functions. He could be a recorder, he could assess the instruction, he could be an energizer, or he could be the e-learning video, meaning he needs to play video when it related to the concept being discussed in class. Or sometimes he will do the placemat activity. And number 8, if you want number 8, which means I need a facilitator to take a lead in discussing the concept. So whoever holds the card, the student will execute whatever role is being assigned to them. These are some of the old materials. When I first developed the strategy, I used a paddle, but now I use a laminated version of this strategy. So before I use the pad and the whiteboard, sometimes I just attach the roles for each student. Now I make it more beautiful and fancy. I try to laminate it so that it's much more pleasing and it will last longer when it's laminated. Now, role assignments help to distribute responsibility for each student in the class and ensure accountability for all students' participation. Students are given certain character roles so that they will have a sense of being personally on the scene. In using RACE, each student receives a role card with protocols, sentence frame, and responsibility written on it. The following are the role cards that will be assigned to each student. There are merely some examples of the role assignment to be given. You can see that on that slide. The teachers need to be creative in assigning the following suggested roles based on the learning tasks. So these are some of the the roles that I can think of. But to make it more specific, we will go to the roles that I assign in my particular classroom. First, being the moderator. When a student is the moderator, he sets the context, drives the discussion, and engages the class into different learning options or activities. The moderator follows the roll card with the following protocols. So these are the protocols that a moderator will follow. So if you are a moderator, you will follow options 1 to 8. So the teacher might say, okay, moderator, I need number 5. And the moderator will say it loud that I need the vocabulary builder to highlight important vocabulary. So the moderator will only move or do his part once the teacher chooses what number to execute. Now the teacher for the day. Reinforce teaching by performing instructional jobs that includes assessing the learning, providing motivation, promoting technology, and deepening understanding through writing activity. The teacher for a day follows the roll card with the following protocols. The protocols at the back, you could be the recorder, you could assess instruction, they can provide energizer, they could be an e-learner, and they could do placement activity. So this one, number 1 to 5, again, the teacher might say what activity you want to execute that day, and the teacher of the day will just do the following choices of activity if you are the teacher for the day. Now the summarizer prepares a summary of the lesson by encapsulating the key points, main highlights, and general idea of the lesson. The summarizer follows the roll card with the following sentence starter to organize the thoughts. So at the back of that roll card is the sentence frame. Like the student might read that sentence frame because some students are lacking the academic vocabulary, so it's better that we have that sentence frame in order to guide them on what to say. Now the caller calls students' name randomly by writing the names on cards or on a stick and pull a stick and call on students. Other options in calling students randomly include using an iPad or iPhone or using 2 decks of playing cards. The caller follows the roll card with the following protocol. So basically, this is the instruction on what the caller will do. He will pick somebody's name, he will call volunteer or somebody who raised the hand. He will control who will participate. So it's a good practice because we are giving the opportunity our students to to call his or her classmate. It's better that they do the calling instead of the teacher doing the calling with the student who will participate in the class. So the caller is the one who is responsible for picking the right students who will participate in the class. So of course, this one comes with the use of technology. There are different apps in calling students. Or in my class, we use the bingo set. It's numbered 1 to 34. So the caller will just roll the bingo and the number will come out. So whoever got number 1, matching that with a roster. So whoever matches that number will voluntarily do the recitation in the class. Now the checker. The checker is another roll card. It has the responsibility to check over work in problem solving to verify accuracy or misconception. The checker follows the roll card with the following sentence starter to organize the thoughts. So you can see if the student's answer is correct, he will say that sentence frame. If the answer of the student is incorrect, he will say the following sentence frame. Again, the checker will be based on your content area. This one is based in math, so that's why all the wordings are in math. You can tweak it and modify it. Now, if you are a recorder, You will keep a record of important thoughts or critical points in the lesson by capturing it through writing. The recorder follows the roll card with the following protocols, okay? So basically, the recorder, he will just highlight important thoughts that was captured during discussion. Now, if you are a thinker, the thinker is responsible for asking a burning question that will engage the class in rich areas of agreements and disagreements. The thinker follows the roll card with the following question starter. So the thinker has I have like 10 questions that he can throw in the entire class. So this one is a good one because it is the start of discussion between and among students. So I have the following guided question. If you are a thinker, so you might probably pick the right question to throw in the class if needed by the teacher. And also I have another thinker using the following set of questions. So there are lots of questions that a student can throw during the discussion. Now, vocabulary builder. The vocabulary builder is the wordsmith that uses a dictionary or his own word to record the meaning of a new and interesting vocabulary. The vocabulary builder follows the roll card with the following protocol. So suppose you want the past lesson. So the vocabulary builder will just say, yesterday we highlighted the word blank. Maybe you want what vocabulary word they learned for the present lesson. So the vocabulary builder will say, today we underscore the meaning of the word blank. Now, if you are a reactor, the reactor makes a personal connection or personal opinion about the information collected during the exchange of ideas or discussion. The reactor follows the roll card with the following sentence frame. So thumbs up and thumbs down. So the reactor might say, okay, thumbs up, I agree because of blah blah blah. Thumbs down, I disagree because of the following blah blah blah. So there are some academic words that a reactor can use. Now, if you are an e-learner, the e-learner is responsible for playing academic videos that can provoke discussion and invite learners to analyze and think. The e-learner follows the roll card with the following protocol. So maybe the e-learner will say, today we will be watching videos about blank. I want you to use your note catcher to capture big ideas. So after watching, he might say, anybody who wants to share big ideas, you capture. So that's the purpose of the e-learner. Now, if a student is assigned as a timekeeper, so the timekeeper provides a timing record of how long each participant or groups will accomplish the task. The timekeeper follows the roll card with the following protocol. So we have a sentence frame designed for a timekeeper. You can see it on the screen. Now, if you are assigned as a class monitor, so the class monitor assists the teacher to maintain a good order in the classroom by being responsible in class routine duties. The class monitor follows the roll card with the following protocol. Maybe you will assign the monitor to handle all the calculator, distribution of paper, materials, monitoring lateness, and he should be maybe holding the whole way of bathroom pass. So it's a good way to help and assist teacher if you are a monitor. Now, if a student has the card or the roll card of being a facilitator, basically, a facilitator manages the class by taking a lead in discussing, explaining, or helping to keep the class on task. The facilitator follows the roll card with the following protocols. So basically, the facilitator is the one who will control the class. So if somebody has the facilitator role, he might say the following protocol. You said, so I hear you saying, do I agree, disagree, can you add to what he said? And the facilitator also initiate a discussion. He might ask questions to the class using the following question. Now, if you are say something, if you hold the say something card, a student who are designated to say something usually make a prediction, clarification, connection, question, comment, and evaluate something. If students are not performing key roles, if students are not performing key roles, they will be designated with this authentic classroom job to say something. Students designed for the role as say something follow the role card with the following language rank. So those are the following he might say when he or she is holding this role card. Now those are the overview of using this strategy. So more or less I have like 14 role cards assigned to each student, and you can duplicate it. So suppose you have 34 students, so one role could be duplicated, so that's around 28. Then you can add another more role card for the whole class. So as long as everybody is holding a role, everybody should be holding a role. Now let's go to the 3-step to teach these procedures. Well, of course, at the beginning of the school year, before we implement this strategy, you need to explain it. State, explain, model, and demonstrate the procedure. Second, you have to rehearse this. Of course, you need practice in using this strategy. You need to practice the procedure under your supervision. And third, you will reinforce it. You have to reteach, rehearse, practice, and reinforce the classroom procedure until it becomes a student habit or routine. It takes time actually to perfect this strategy, and some students will enjoy it and some not. But as long as you are consistent with it, at the end of implementing this process, students will appreciate how helpful the RACE strategy is. And I would say to you that a class with high levels of participation becomes a powerful learning machine.